Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream on this cold and wet October evening. Well, to be honest, the weather's calmed down a little bit in the United Kingdom. In fact, earlier the sun made a mediocre small appearance. So, yep, you know, it's getting cold though. It is October. It's getting cold, and I'm a bit perishing here, a bit cold. Tonight we are talking about controversial mermaids who I reported are under investigation by the Charities Commission in the last stream. Now, a trustee of the controversial trans charity has resigned. After it emerged, he gave a speech at a conference hosted by an organization that promotes services to paedophiles. If that's not concerning enough, I mean, there's so much going on with mermaids. It's really, I mean, this charity is very controversial. They're very deeply concerning to the public, really, and I think it's time they were properly investigated by the Charities Commission and shut down. Yeah, so on Monday, the 5th of October 2022, Dr. Jacob Breslow quit the controversial Mermaids as a trustee after it emerged that he'd given a speech at a conference hosted by an organization that promotes services to paedophiles. I'll go into it in a little bit, what things that were said, which will probably horrify you as much as it's horrifying me. I mean, this is a charity for young children, and you on a trustee who's got influence in the charity is turns out to be a paedophile apologist, turns out to be speaking in support of paedophiles. That's criminals, but we'll go into that in a minute. Whilst he was a graduate student in gender research, studying at the London School of Economics, he attended the B4U ACT conference in 2011 as a PhD student, where he gave that presentation, that controversial presentation that has been discussed all over social media and has concerned many people across the board. His presentation appeared, well, I say it appeared, I mean, you'll make your own mind up in a minute, but it appeared to critique of how paedophiles were understood. And according to a published summary of his presentation, he uses the word or the phrase minor attracted persons instead of paedophiles. We need to bear in mind that paedophiles are criminals, that there's no minor attracted person at all. There is nothing in that. These people are nonsense. They are deeply concerning people. They're criminals. It's as simple as that. You abuse a child, that's a very, very serious criminal offence. That's it. There is no other way to describe that. Paedophiles. So in this 2011 paper, he stated this. So this is what he said, which is extremely controversial. Just as the desire to and the act of coming on a shoe requires a rethinking of the shoe and how it comes into being, I wanted to argue that the desire to and the act of coming on, or even possibly with a child, requires a rethink both of the child, which we just began, and of the person for whom the child is a sexual fantasy or a partner. How disgusting. I mean, this is very, very concerning that was said at a conference in the United Kingdom. And it's just absolutely disgusting. It really is. So this is why people are outraged. It's unbelievable that somebody's coming out with this disgust. It really is. So he also wrote in that 2011 paper, allowing for a form of non-diagnosable minor attraction is exciting, as it potentially creates a sexual and political identity by which activists, scholars, and clinicians can begin to better understand minor attracted, which he refers to as MAPS. How vile! I mean, this is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting stuff. I mean, yeah, this is a trust. This was a trustee of Mermaids coming out with it, with this vile, statements. It makes me feel sick to think that somebody's been allowed to stand up on a stage at a conference and come out with this. This is disgusting. Because paedophiles really are. Really is no other way of naming a paedophile. They are criminals, who ruin children's lives. It's that simple, and paedophiles is the name. They're committing a crime. Organizations that allowed this vile person to say this should be illegal. Why is it not illegal to allow this sort of behavior to go on a stage in a conference? He shouldn't have been allowed to be platformed, and organizations like this should stop. In fact, like I say, I cannot understand why they've not been stopped. Organizations like this that are allowing people like him, platforming people like him, should be shut down. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting. This organization, which is a pro-paedophile organization, should be shut down. It should be made illegal. This shouldn't be allowed. This is about abusing children. Should be moved. So, perhaps it's time to seek out these vile organizations and put a stop to this appalling activity. I'm really shocked that it's actually been allowed to happen in the United Kingdom, but it is. This is what's happening. We need laws to stop this disgust. The B4U Act organization themselves, they call for paedophiles to have the right to live in truth and dignity. I have a very different opinion, which I wouldn't be allowed to say on YouTube, but I do think that all paedophiles should, at the very least, be taken off the streets and locked up, and worse. And also on the B4U Act's website, it also says that it holds workshops and gives presentations about the needs and rights of people with an attraction to children and adolescents. And it also runs support groups for them and their families and their friends. I mean, this is not right. We've got a potential paedophile here who is thinking about committing a criminal offence on children. And then we've got this pro-paedophile group running workshops and, supporting these criminals. That's what they do. They're supporting potential criminals. It's just appalling. Anyway, the LSE, who this guy Bresler was studying at, have tweeted out the following. They've got to, haven't they? It's caused a massive stir on social media. So it says, we've been made aware a presentation given at an external event in 2011 by a then graduate student, now faculty member of LSU. So he's a faculty member. Well, he was a faculty member. I don't think he is now. We are now looking into these reports. I should think not LSE, and I'd be very interested to know how you're going to deal with this, because this is disgusting. He's one of your students, and you put him as a doctor. And did you not notice that this guy was like this, discussing this vile statements whilst he was a student? Did he not? Is this really a surprise, or has this sort of vile stuff been put in his coursework? We want to know. I think the public have got a right to know. To be quite honest, I very much worry about this person completely to come out with this vile disgust. So the controversial trans charity themselves, they have said that Mermaids has been made aware of Dr. Breslow's, and they've put it, historic participation in a conference that is completely at odds with our values. Well, I don't think it was that historic. It's, historic. It's only about 10 years ago. It's not historic. And there's been quite a lot of condemnation on social media about mermaids already. In fact, as you know, mermaids are taking LGB Alliance to court, and mermaids themselves are getting into a lot of hot water about this. They're already under investigation by the Charities Commission. Mermaids have been condemned for years by many people across the board, from doctors to medical people to teachers to across the board. Journalists have regularly expressed their concerns about mermaids, and now we've got this, that a man that went to a conference, a conference that supports paedophiles, and gave out such a vile statement, and he was just happened to be trustee of Mermaids. That's not a coincidence. It's really not. Because do mermaids not do due diligence before accepting such people as trustees? Because it didn't take much digging. It wouldn't have taken much digging to find out about Breslau. The information has always been public about him, and he's very much out there. Mermaids are concerning the many, and I think that they're a very controversial organization and have been very controversial for many years. And I think they have a right, that there is a right for people to concern over mermaids. Anybody can see that things are not right, and I hope really that mermaids are shut down eventually. After the Charities Commission investigation. I also think the police should be investigating this vile charity. I'm just going to have a little drink now, just to dry my throat, or just wet the throat because it's a little bit dry there. So Joanna Cherry, who is MSP for Scotland, she tweeted out, I thought I was beyond shocking. I thought I was beyond shocking, but no, I'm actually quite shocked by these latest revelations. There is now more than ample evidence that concerns about safeguarding at mermaids are well-founded. Absolutely, Joanna. I mean, the allegations that are coming in about mermaids and the evidence that's been presented, and has been presented over many, many years, to be honest. I mean, people have been bringing evidence about this ghastly organization called Mermaids for quite some time, and yeah, the evidence is out there, and we do need to look into it. We do need to look into this vile charity, and yeah, you're right. It's the safeguarding of mermaids needs to be looked into, not just by the Charities Commission, and of course they are looking into it, but by the police as well. And so we'll go on. Maya Verstatter, director of Sex Matters, she, that great woman, she tweeted out, Scouts developed their transgender policy with mermaids. And when suggested they talk to transgender trend, I'll tell you about in a minute, they politely refused, while internally people wrote that transgender trend is problematic to the trans community. So transgender trend are quite a sensible charity for anybody who's confused about the gender. And yeah, I mean, Scouts did refuse that organization, and people did actually condemn or said that transgender trend is problematic, but of course they didn't say that about mermaids at the time. These the same people didn't say that about mermaids at the time, but so Scouts should really consider their trans policy firstly. They might want to consult transgender trend, because I think transgender trend have got a very different opinion to what Scouts are doing. I mean, I don't think that trans should be discussed within the Scouts at all. It's nothing to do with Scouts to be discussing a gender theory which is not proven to people's children. You've got no right to do that. It's really out of the remit of Scouts, really. So Dr. As Maxwell Hakim, he is a consultant psychiatrist and author of Trans Exploring Gender Identity and Gender Dysphoria. He went on to say in a tweet, from what we have seen from the people currently involved in running the Scouts and Girl Guides in recent times, it is bewildering that any parent allows their child to be part of either. I totally agree with that. If you're sending your child to Scouts and Brownies, it's guides they're calling it, it's a guide as Brownies as, if you're sending your child to Scouts or Guides, can you let me know why? I mean, are you happy that you're sending your child to an organization that's promoting trans ideology, that's promoting a trans theory, that's coming from an organization, okay, where one of their trustees, that's coming from an organization where it was set up. It was, their policies have been set up by mermaids. Are you happy sending your child to an organization that have got policies for mermaids where a trustee's just come out as a paedophile apologist? It's concerning. My question as well is, if you're still supporting mermaids at this stage, why? Mermaids have been controversial. Many people across the board have been complaining about mermaids for quite a while. It's very, very concerning as to why this is happening. So our great British icon J. Rowling, she tweeted out, when you appoint a trustee to a children's charity, you do a due diligence. A simple Google search would have enabled mermaids to read Breslow's own words. Either they did literally no check-in, or they were fine with his views. Either way, it's a catastrophic safeguarding failure. It is a catastrophic safeguarding failure, J.K. Rowling, absolutely. It's unbelievable that mermaids, did this, and it should really concern everybody. It should absolutely concern all the people, all the organizations that are using mermaids for their policies. It should concern all parents. It should concern the government. It should concern the police. It should concern the Charities Commission. It really is a catastrophic safeguarding failure, what mermaids have done. J.K. Rowling went on to say that we've now learned that mermaids appointed a paedophilia apologist as trustee, and that their online moderator encouraged kids to move onto a platform notorious for sexual exploitation. This is a charity that's achieved unprecedented influence in the United Kingdom. She went on to say in another tweet, they couldn't have achieved it without the money and public support of certain corporations and celebrities, who eagerly boosted them, even though the red flags have been there for years. Mermaid's fingers were all over the Tavistock gender identity clinic debacle, absolutely. And then she went on to say that they've been allowed into the classroom, they've trained police, and had unprecedented influence over health policy, even though by their own admission, they aren't a medical charity. We've also found out that they're sending devices to flatten breasts to underage girls without parental consent. And indeed, J.K. Rowling's right. I'd like to thank J.K. Rowling for continually speaking out this. The UK are very lucky to have this wonderful, heroic and courageous hero that J.K. Rowling is. So thank you, J.K. Rowling. You've always spoken up and you have always been right. I'm happy to buy your books. I'm happy to support you, and I'm happy to speak highly of you. It's only what you deserve. So in another tweet from J.K. Rowling, she said, tell me again how the parents, teachers, medics, psychiatrists, safeguarding experts and prominent members of the gay rights movement who've been trying to raise the alarm about mermaids' gender are bigots, trying to foment moral panic. Yeah, so maybe people can explain that all mermaids is falling apart. We've been everybody's been trying to, every sensible person has been trying to tell you about mermaids. And these do range from teachers, they range from parents, medics, psychiatrists, safeguarding experts, prominent people, celebrities, prominent members of the gay rights movement. They have all been trying to raise the alarm about mermaids' gender, and they've all been ignored and simply called bigots. Yeah. So we've got Simon Edge, author of The End of the World is Flat. He tweeted out update. Jolyon Mangum has been tweeting all morning, just as he did yesterday. Still not a word about mermaids, the children's charity he has passionately championed for years, which appointed one of academia's most outspoken paedophile apologists as a trustee. Absolutely. Why? What my question is, okay, why has a heterosexual man like Jolyon Mangum been involved in taking a great charity like LGBT Alliance to court to attempt to strip them of their charity status? If people can answer that question, if Jolyon himself can ask that, why he's supporting a charity which has got so many red flags, it's just unbelievable, but it's true. And then he wants to bring down an LGBT charity which has got is a heterosexual man himself. What's it got to do with him? How gay people, gay and lesbian people organize themselves, gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. It's got nothing to do with Jolyon, yet he's responsible and involved for trying to take the charity LGBT Alliance to court to strip them of their charity status. Not on at all. Okay, so Andrew Doyle, who is author of The New Puritans and Free Speech and Why It Matters and presenter on GB News, he tweeted out, why are so many still trying to defend mermaids? This is a group that promotes a dangerous form of gender identity ideology to children, claims puberty blockers are harmless and reversible, encourages breast binding for young girls without parental consent. It's a very good question. Why are people out there still speaking up for mermaids? Why are they still supporting mermaids when all this has come into light? I mean, it's, they do promote a form of gender theory, okay, to children directly. And they are sending out breast flattening devices to young girls behind their parents' back. I mean, if you're out there, I mean, I just can't believe that anybody would support this. I mean, we all want the well-being of children. We all want the well-being, but how can anybody support an organization sending this out when these breast binding devices are actually harmful? Then if they're not, they can cause damage to young girls. This is just so wrong. It's terrible. And without any consultation, without anything. Do you know what I mean? It's just a case of, they contact mermaids and mermaids secretly send it to an address anywhere else. And, behind the parents' back. It's or parents' consent. I find it very difficult to understand why anybody can agree with this. No organization should be doing things like this. But this is mermaids for you. Could this be the end of mermaids? Oh, I hope so. I really do hope so, because the more research I do on this ghastly organization, the more it concerns me about how they've been allowed to do this for so long. I do hope so. So anyway, Helen Joyce, author of Trans When Ideology Meets Reality, she tweeted out the following. So she said, today's reading list, a short thread. In the last 24 hours, Gender Wibble, the BBC, has deigned to notice the scandalous appointment at Mermaids of an apologist for paedophilia as trustee, and now stepped down. Yep. So another question, why have establishments and news outlets like the BBC failed to publish the scandals of mermaids? I mean, this has been unrolling for years. I mean, there's a lot been said about mermaids. They've never really published anything. And this goes for most news outlets. It's only really that you know, the Telegraph and the Daily Mail and the what's the other one, the Times. There's not many that are taking this story up either. I mean, I know now the BBC have taken this particular one up, but it's all been silent, you know, or in favour of mermaids. It's quite concerning. And as J.K. Rowling said, a simple Google search would have enabled, you know, mermaids or any news outlet to read Breslau's own words. It's all been out there. You know what I mean? It's only for somebody to notice, and it's very simple. You know, you just check on the people. I mean, you know, I'd have thought mermaids would have been the first to want to check on Breslau, but unfortunately not. But it's also important why news outlets didn't pick this up before as well. I mean, you know, why? Is it being done deliberate? So, Transgender Trend, a leading UK organisation calling for evidence-based care for gender dysphoric children, they tweeted out. Okay, they've tweeted out, we've challenged Mermaid's claim to speak for trans-identifying children since 2015. We've gathered evidence, investigated and campaigned. We've said Mermaids isn't fit for purpose. Mermaids and those cheering them on must be held to account for their actions. Indeed. So what I'd also like to know, something that I found out, it's perfect. It's been out there. I've seen a lot of people, you know, bring this up. But why are controversial mermaids domain squatting transgender trend? So, you know, if you type in transgendertrend.co.uk, you are directed to the mermaids website. This is domain squatting. Isn't this something that the Charity Commission can look into? Hello, your local lesbian. Nice to meet you. I've run out of things to say now, so I haven't really got any other things to say on the matter. That's all. There wasn't a lot I could say tonight on this debacle, but yeah, you know, you can join me on Saturday, and we'll be talking about a different topic. I do hope that more and more people are going to consider moving away from mermaids, and a lot of organisations that are using mermaids to do their policies. I do hope that they are going to just end that relationship with mermaids, and I hope that I do hope that more and more people are going to speak out. I mean, there's a lot of people who've been speaking out for years about mermaids, but I hope now this, you know, this organisation, which is crumbling, it's very obvious it's crumbling. I do hope it absolutely crumbles. I do hope the Charity Commission really, you know, give them what they deserve, and end, you know, their charity status, and that will really serve them right for suing LGB Alliance in the first place. But yep, that's all I've got for tonight. So thank you for everyone that's joined me in and out, and I will see you all on next Saturday, hopefully at 7 o'clock, and we can chat furthermore on gender ideology.